Adelaide CEO Andrew Fagan joins us as the club narrows in on the replacement for Don Pyke as head coach. And we'll preview the big Sandford Grand Final. Glenelg through against Adelaide. They're set to take on the Magpies on Sunday. Good evening and welcome along to another edition of Footy SA. Good evening and welcome along to a massive edition of Footy SA. Bernie Vince, the Crows legend, joins us, best and fairest winner. And Bernie, Don Pyke is out.
He is out. Didn't see that one coming, Kane. And that's a man that we played off in a grand final only two years ago and hot favourites, went down and 2 years later, gone. Big surprise. But big changes at Adelaide Footy Club and that's obviously the biggest one. So they need to make the next decision a good one.
Crows looking for their 11th senior coach. We'll check in with club CEO Andrew Fagan very, very shortly on the program. Let's get into the show with the Kia big moments. The V6 twin-turbo Kia Stinger is the West Australian car of the year. As we said, Don Pyke walked away with 2 years to go in his contract at Adelaide, and this is how it went down.
We're pretty bullish at the start of the year as a group, and I'm not talking externally. I think internally we had some good expectations, and that's probably from just purely the footy department viewpoint, and we clearly didn't meet those. And the reality was the last 9 weeks after the bye just weren't to the level. When the side is performing as it is, I recognise that with others, I believe I'm part of the problem quite clearly. Am I also part of the solution? And I guess my feeling in the conversations I've had and in my personal self-reflections, I've reached the decision that I believe it's best to hand over to a fresh face with a new voice to move the club forward. We've recognised that the camp was amiss. So it's a component, it's there, it happened, but we've said it was a miss.
It was a distraction, clearly a distraction. We need to make decisions that are in the best interests of the football club. As much as we take all of those opinions into account, we are the ones closest to it and we will make the best decisions until we're not the right people to make them.
I tend not to be one that tends to look back and regrets. I think there's always learnings. There's things which I'll reflect on. I'll reflect on now and in coming weeks and things which I'll learn and take forward in life.
There it was. That's part of how it went down. And as I said, Andrew Fagan going to join us very, very shortly. Bernie, I didn't see it coming. I thought they'd be right up there, top 4. I thought they could challenge for the flag this year. So to go from where they were 2 years ago to basically a club in crisis, I don't think that's too dramatic a term, is staggering. In your mind, have you got a lens for how it's gone so wrong?
Well, I don't. And if I did, I'd be able to earn a lot of money, Kane, as part of this review. But, it's been very dramatic, the fall, hasn't it? And I think the players need to have a look at themselves as well, though. They need to get a big mirror down there at Adelaide Footy Club, get all the players to stand in front of it and ask themselves the question, am I doing everything to be the best footballer I can? Because I feel like too many times that the Adelaide senior coach has copped it for the players not doing everything they can. So they need to stop whinging and get out there and train hard and get back to playing good footy.
Do they need to be more resilient? I mean, the camp was a miss, I get that, but I'm almost sick of the camp being raised now. Does this group need to use an old-fashioned term, to harden up a little bit and be a bit more resilient and work out that playing AFL footy is not easy? There's a million other people that want to do it. I reckon you're spot on with this. The players need to take some ownership of this and it shouldn't just be lumped on Don Pyke.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm sort of sick of hearing the camp as well because that's a long time ago now, and if they think the camp is still having effect now, I don't think it is. I think they need to get back to working hard, and as you said, footy's not for everyone. It requires a lot of hard work and a lot of, to keep fit and be able to perform at the level, you have to do a lot of training, and it isn't for everyone. And Adelaide's a small place, you get recognised, and maybe they just got ahead of themselves a little bit, and this is the kick up the bum they needed, albeit losing a senior coach in the meantime.
Don Pyke is 5th active amongst current coaches in terms of win-loss percentage. He sits 5th, 60%. Let's have a look at his record at Adelaide from 2016 to the end of this year. 56 wins, 36 losses, 60, nearly just under 61%, and a grand finalist in 2017, where they were clearly the best home and away side. So it wasn't all bad for Don Pyke. Do you think he'll get another job? He said he wants to.
I think there is a place for him. I'm not sure whether it's immediately right now. He might want a year off after that, because the reason he did pull the pin was, I think, because of the pressure and external pressure and internal pressure of expectation. So he might just need a year away, but I think he's too smart. He was midfield coach when I first got drafted, and he sees the game and speaks about the game really well. So I do see a spot in the coaching ranks for him. Whether that's a senior coach, I'm not sure, but it looks like he wants to be.
He was very pointed at his dig at the media in his retiring press conference last week.
Oh, well, certainly the general pressure that goes when you're losing games of footy in this town is real. I don't pretend to shy away from that. I think it's different to other markets, and at times, it does become quite draining, especially when you're dealing with some of the things which are, if I say fictional, it's probably correct, that you're having to respond to consistently. So it makes it a bit more challenging. Yeah.
No doubt some of the things were fictional that were thrown out around the club this year, including his alleged fight with Josh Jenkins, which never ever happened. Also the questionnaire that I think one journalist ran with that never ever happened either. But I just think the club's got to be a bit more open with the media and be a bit more transparent with injury lists and just little things, so then we don't always doubt what's coming out of the club. And I think they can open themselves up, and the new coach should do that.
Certainly did. Well, you're right, but I think they getting back to the camp, which I don't want to really go back there, but they didn't handle that well. I think it was more the handling of it after. If they just came out and told us what happened, and it gets back to your point, everyone would be happy and we move on. Because they hid stuff out, people had to guess, and then people didn't really know what was going on. Then the players have thought, oh, hang on, maybe we can blame the camp for the last 2 years. I just think they didn't handle that well at all. And, be more transparent. I think the good clubs now tell the media everything, basically. And, I mean, you don't have to give everything away, but just be a little bit more honest. And Adelaide's a small town. People find out anyway.
I think the fans would appreciate that. Now the attention turns to the playing list. There's some disgruntled players there, no doubt about that. But there's also some players that are contracted that I think Adelaide would like to move on. SEN's Gerard Whateley had this to say about the state of the Crows list on AFL Nation on Friday night.
You only have to be vaguely plugged into footy to understand the dynamic around that club, and if they don't take action, they will end up with 14 players on their door saying, hey, we want to be traded.
Not sure it's 14. That sounds extreme. That's the third of your list, basically. So I'm not sure it'll be that many, but the likes of Keith and Greenwood and Jenkins and Betts will all have their futures discussed at a busy trade period coming up. Adelaide must get that right. And I don't know whether they go full rebuild and full youth path, because they've never done that and they've never bottomed out, and all credit to them for not doing that, or whether they top up on the run and still try and compete for finals next year.
What do you think they need to do? Do you think they bottom out? I know they haven't ever done it, but you see the good sides, Collingwood, the Collingwoods of the past, they've bottomed out, come back really strong. Hawthorn have bottomed out, come back really strong. Probably the only team that haven't done that is Sydney, who have been very good for a long time, but sort of had a bit of a down year this year. So it's a big question, and maybe they'll cover that in the review, whether they need to do that as a list, from a list point of view.
I wouldn't. I'm not sure the Adelaide fans would stomach that. And when you've still got the likes of Sloan and Walker and Betts, if he stays, and Laird and Smith and these guys in the prime, be disappointing if they turn their back on them, and the Crouch brothers as well. I mean, they're in their prime, these types of guys. Tarly is the same. Duday's, in that position. So their list is good enough to play finals next year. They're a better list than Essendon.
Well, they are.
Well, they play
yes,
finals
they are. They just didn't play as well. If you go down that path of rebuild and senior players get a sniff of that, well, all of a sudden they think, well, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. I might only have 2 or 3 years left, and I'm going to go to a club that is in a premiership window or trying to win a premiership. So it's a real tough balancing act, that one, but they need to get it right.
Got to look at some of the Crows youngsters in the SANFL on the weekend. It was prelim finals action. Let's take a look at it. Buy Balfour's Pie for a SANFL ticket. Visit balfours.com.au. It's on screen there. Magnificent promotion from one of the great South Australian companies, Balfours, and how good are their pies and their frog cakes. In the end, it was a great game of footy, really. Thought at one stage Glenelg came out of the blocks really hard. Burn, Crows fought back, and at half-time we thought, well, probably the AFL-listed side with their fitness and skill level would run away with it. But this Glenelg Footy Club's been a proud side all year, and their big forwards got a hold of the Crows. Reynolds kicked 5, McBean and Josh Scott played his best game since he broke that arm, and sets up a cracker between Glenelg and the Magpies this weekend.
Certainly does, and yeah, they were tested early, weren't they? And I was keeping an eye on the game, and I thought, oh no, the straight sets thing come into my mind a little bit, and I remember what we spoke about last week, but I think everyone thought Glenelg deserves a spot in the grand final, and good luck to them this week, because there's a couple of old rivals, Kane.
They are.
Could be a big game.
Got a great history. Port Adelaide have dominated Glenelg in grand finals, but there it is, 3 o'clock Adelaide Oval. I reckon there'll be 40+ thousand there, and rightly so. I think this is the result and the game that the SANFL would have been craving for. So good luck to both sides as they go at it, and in particular, good luck to Glenelg, who are trying to break that 33-year drought. Haven't won since 1986. When my old boy was coach, Bernie, so he'll be there with his Glenelg scarf on. Up and running on Footy SA, Adelaide CEO Andrew Fagan joining us on the other side of this. Thanks for your company tonight on Footy SA. It's all thanks to Kia, home to Australia's best. 7-year warranty and OTR, making life easy. Adelaide CEO Andrew Fagan is in a busy period as the Crows narrow in on their search for a new coach and go about the review of the football club, which is in the middle of it. He's been good enough to join us tonight on Footy SA. Fakes, thanks so much for your time.
Hey, Kane, how are you doing?
How is it since the dust has settled on, I guess, Don Park walking away last week? How is the place and how are you feeling?
Yeah, look, obviously it was a big week last week, and that sort of news obviously, took a few people by surprise. Disappointed some people, but footy clubs are a pretty resilient beast, and you do have to move on pretty quickly. It's you don't ever have enough time. So we sort of celebrated Pikey's contribution to the club with a few drinks on Thursday night, and then by Friday morning, attention had pretty quickly turned to trying to put together a panel and then start the process of identifying who might be the replacement.
You speak of the panel, Fags. Have you selected that panel yet?
Yeah, we're just about finalised it. So there'll be a panel of 4 people. I'll be a part of that along with our football director Mark Rasciuto. And then we'll have 2 people who are external from the footy club, and we hopefully will announce that in the next 24 hours or so. But I'm really comfortable with the people we've got involved, and so we're looking forward to just getting stuck into it. You're
going to have to deal with a lot of rumours and innuendo, Fake. So it's too premature, isn't it, to say such and such is a front runner. Today we're hearing Scotty Burns is the front runner. We've heard that Mark Rasciuto's had coffee with Ross Lyon, but it's premature because you haven't even selected the final panel that will choose the new coach. Is that fair?
Yeah, it seems to be premature because there's about 7 people that apparently are an absolute lock to be the coach. So, no, look, we haven't had any meetings with anyone today. So the panel will be finalised in the next 24 hours. We're also just, putting the final touches to the qualities, I guess, to the brief of the qualities of the coach that we're looking for. And we've obviously started the work of targeting individuals, but all of that sort of will come together in the next 48 hours, and we'll begin to reach out to potential candidates to ASS interest and suitability for the role. So look, it'll start in earnest, and we know the industry. We just there'll be plenty of speculation right up until the moment that we make a final decision, and but that's the fun of it. But so we'll just try and focus our attention on trying to get the right person to do the job, and make sure our fans are really comfortable that we've gone through an exhaustive process.
We've seen Carlton and St Kilda and North Melbourne promote from within to the senior job. Do you think there's anyone from within your ranks that's capable of doing the job and stepping up to replace Don Pike?
Well, look, I don't want to rule anyone in or out at the moment. So we're very much at the beginning of the process, and we want to take a really open mind to it. We've got some experience in the coaching group with someone like a Scott Camporelli, who's done the job before on an interim basis. The majority of the others haven't been in the AFL industry as a senior assistant coach for a long time, or an assistant coach for a long time. Obviously, Benny Hart's probably the longest serving of the group that we've got. But we don't want to rule anyone in or out. It's about trying to find the right mix, and we'll go through that process in a really exhaustive manner.
As part of the review, have you spoken about maybe bottoming out as a club or completely rebuilding the playing list? Because there's been a lot of talk about that over here at the moment.
Yeah, look, it's always interesting. There's been zero talk about bottoming out, I can assure you of that. But we obviously are at a point in time where we'd set ourselves probably like over a 5-year period to with a list that we thought could achieve. Finals in 15 and 16, and then a grand final in 17. Things were looking reasonably good. Obviously, disappointed with not getting it done in 2017, and then we had confidence that group continued to perform for another couple of years, and we didn't sort of meet our own expectations, and but it was always going to get to this period where we knew we were going to need to begin to transition the list, and that's occurring. But we're really comfortable. We've got a core group of players as well that that are of high level and have a really good game sort of an experience mix. But we've also got some talent that's going to complement them over the next couple of years, and obviously our desire is to do that while ensuring that we're remaining competitive, mate. So. And at the same time, we will go to the draft over the next couple of years and look to continue to bring in high-level talent, including with the pick that we picked up from Carlton in last year's draft.
You're speaking about bringing players into the club. What about player retention? I mean, it's been on the top of the agenda, I guess, for the last 5 or 6 years with the players Adelaide have lost. In the talk about, Jenkins, Jacobs, Betts, even Alex Keith on the move, have you spoken about that as a club?
Well, yeah, obviously list management's an ongoing conversation, and there's speculation around a number of players, as is often the case this time of year, and it probably is accentuated when you have a coach that's moved on or that moves on. But look, you've named sort of a few players. Some are out of contract, some are in contract, all of whom sort of are over 28 years of age. They've got some decisions they've got to make, some of them, and some decisions we've got to make as a footy club about what our right mix is going to be over the next little bit. So all of those players we're in dialogue with, as well as a number of others as well. So look, it's a really busy period, and probably not a day goes by that we're not sort of focusing on those list management decisions at the moment.
Andrew, thanks for your time and good luck in the coming weeks.
Yeah, good on you guys. Thank you.
Adelaide CEO Andrew Fagan joining us tonight on Footy SA. Pretty good insight into just exactly where the club is at. He goes away with the gift lounge, Andrew Fagan. Let's get to that because it's magnificent. The hip pocket workwear and safety, they've got you covered. And also FXD. Fags look magnificent in one of those. Function by design, and off-season, just said he had a barbecue around at Don Pike's place. So what better than to keep things cool with a Dometic CI 42 litre icebox. Dometic, mobile living made
Has my
easy.
Esky came yet? I did put a shout out in last week, but not yet.
Not yet?
No. Okay, well, maybe next week. We've got another week.
We've got one show to go, so you better behave. Lots more coming up on Footy SA. Stick around.
Balfours and footy go together like grass stains on a Guernsey. To celebrate this perfect match, we're giving away a footy every day this footy season. To share your perfect footy moment, tag Balfours Bakery and use the hashtag #TakeASpecky to enter. Whether it's meeting your footy hero, celebrating victory, or taking a Specky mark, Balfours and footy, the perfect match. Go get 'em.
Yeah, it's the Balfours Take a Specky promotion. Just check it out there, balfours.com.au. Share your perfect footy moment. Visit balfours.com.au. Welcome back to Footy SA. Bernie Vince is at the Plasma for the OTR takeaway. This final series, drop by your nearest OTR and score a great deal. Bernie, what can the Crows look forward to next year?
Well, I want to talk about two players that will get fans through the turnstiles, Kane, and one of them is this man, Darcy Fogarty. Now, he is a guy, especially if Josh Jenkins is moved on or goes to another club, as we've spoken about, he is one guy that will stand up next year. And we saw his breakout game against West Coast where he kicked 5 goals. He can do everything. He's good on the ground. He's physical, which Adelaide need up there. And he kicks goals. He's got one of the best kicks in probably the comp. And really good set shot, good on the ground. So looking forward to watching him. And the other one is Chase Jones. And we've seen little snippets of him throughout the year. But probably like to see him develop his tank a bit and go into the midfield. So he's another player that I'm looking forward to seeing next year.
Just on Fogarty, he's got to have a massive off-season because I know he wears 32, but so many similarities to Marcus Shudo, and he's got to be a player that can pinch hit in the midfield. The best forwards, De Goey, Dustin Martin, Bontempelli, they go forward, but they also go midfield. So if he can get super fit and just give himself a chop out in the midfield, because forward line can be a lonely place.
Oh, it certainly can. And that's what the good players are able to do, aren't they, Kane? When they're having a bit of a quiet run, they go in the midfield, or midfielders go forward. So if he can get fit, he's just probably carrying a little bit. Looks like his Guernsey's pretty full.
Yep.
He could just trim up a little bit. Maybe go for a few runs with you, Kane.
I'll take him for a few runs.
Yeah, probably a bit of daylight in between you two, but see how he goes.
Let's take a look at our Repco Authorised Service Centre Player of the Year. Getting towards the business end with this, your local mechanic with the nationwide backing of Repco. Book your next car service at repcoservice.com.au. We are revealing the number 2 player. Rory Sloane didn't win it, but he was good enough to come second, just ahead as Travis Boak. So great year for Rory Sloane. He'll be the captain of the Crows next year, and they need him to have another ripping season. So congratulations to Rory, and next week all will be revealed. How much do they win?
It's maybe an esky.
No, I think it's a bit more than
I'll
that.
take that.
Nathan Brown is in position for Sportsbet as we are gearing up for finals. Double your winnings on all AFL matches for week 3 of the finals with Sportsbet. Conditions apply. Gamble responsibly. Brownies pumped up. Prelim final weekend, the best weekend of the year.
Yeah, can't wait for this one, Kane. Let's have a look at the 2 games so far. And the first one, the Tigers are very, very short here, as you'd expect. The Cats, $2.90. A little bit of money around for the Tigers. They're $1.45 into $1.40, but can't see the Cats winning that one. Same game multi. Now, I think Richmond win this game. Patrick Dangerfield, I reckon, will spend a little bit of time forward.
Yep.
Any time he's got to kick a goal, just at any time in the game, and Bashar Hooley off the back flank. Career high disposals this year. So you get to about 433, which isn't bad. The second game, I think GWS are a massive chance here. They were 245 before Toby Green got suspended. That happens tonight, obviously, out to 275. But I think that's enormous value for GWS against the Pies. We've got some injury concerns. So the line, 15.5-point head start there. Brodie Grundy up against Big Mumford. Mumford was nowhere last week. I'm only asking for 20 plus. And then this man, 16 of the last 18 games, he had 30 plus or more. So that's not a bad price either, which leaves the premiership market like this. Richmond, they're outright favourites, as they should be, along with Collingwood. GWS at the moment are the outsiders. I still think they make the grand final. And then the Brownlow medal, Dangerfield, the only mover this week, 285 into 275. Cripps has got to be a huge chance, though, I would have thought. And the Sandful, the grand final, Port Adelaide, Glenelg, as you can see there, pretty even, 50-50 ball game. Good luck if you're punting and gamble responsibly.
That's about right. Well done, Brownie. Stick around on Footy SA. Coming up next, Bernie Vince's famous Kia Top 7, and I'm a little bit nervous about what he's got this week. Welcome back to Footy SA, all thanks to Kia, home to Australia's best 7-year factory warranty in OTR. This final series, drop by your nearest OTR. Bernie Vince is ready. We've made him wait for the Kia Top 7. Always entertaining. Bernie, what have you noticed this week?
Noticed a few things, Kane, and we might see a bit of you a little bit later. But the first thing, it's a bit hard to see because it's small, but Jack Redden here, he's got the tower, the West Coast tower. Joel Selwood comes in, flogs the tower, wipes his blood on it, and Jack's not happy about it. Tell you what, Joel should have one of them sewn to his Guernsey because he bleeds every single week. Next one, we saw Dustin Martin throw the ball last week. What about this? That was the throw that set up the winning goal. What about that? Umpires, they need to keep watching out for that. It's happened too many times this year. I like this next one, Kane, right up your alley. I tell you what, if it's love, just let it be. Yep. Just let it happen. They're kissing each other while you're shaking your head. Don't like that? No. What about this? We could have a repeat of this. This is the 1992 Sunday Mail. How good would that be? Or are we going for Glenelg, are we? Luke Hodge, what about this? 346 games, 4 premierships, 2 Norm Smith medals, 3 All-Australians. Didn't want to be chaired off either because they lost, so well done to him. Now, I noticed this during the week, and if you had a rig like that, you'd have your shirt off a lot.
How did you find that?
I really do like that, but that reminded me of this.
How did you find that?
And if you've sort of got a rig like this one, you probably leave your shirt on because he looks sick, pale, and skinny.
That's enough of you.
Something's wrong with you.
Stop
running.
See you next Monday. Have a great week.